Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, kids, children, whoever you may be. Thank you very much for clicking on this video and for deciding to watch this video. It has been impressed on me by the Lord, I believe, to share this issue, especially for my Muslim brothers and sisters, and my Jewish brothers and sisters also, who are of the view that the Father could not have a son, and that it is blasphemy for him to have a son, and this and that it's an impossibility for him to, have such a thing. I was given a vision to share this probably about 2 months ago, and I hope that it blesses you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, if we turn to both the Hebrew Bible and the English Bible, to the beginning, to right at the beginning, or rather in the beginning, to how things began. This is a book, the book of Genesis, or Bereshit, that supposedly unites Muslims, Christians, Jews, of every persuasion. So I will go right to the beginning to show something I believe that the Lord has encoded that must be revealed to the world. So it says in Genesis 1:1, or Bereshit 1:1, that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Now that is a fair translation from the Hebrew, but I believe that it is not a complete translation of Genesis 1:1. I say that because if we go back to Ivrit, into the Hebrew, the words that come up are Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. You will notice that in Genesis 1:1, the translation that we have, that in the beginning God created. That is not how it reads. It reads that in the beginning created Elohim. Now, if you just pause for a second and think of what that actually means, I believe by the grace given to me by God that it is not possible for any human being to understand creation. And this text has deliberately been put there to show that creation, all of creation, cannot really be understood by man. So that is a backdrop that we must have settled in our consciousness when we think about this sort of thing. But let us go back into the text. In the beginning created Elohim. In the English, the first person pronoun always has to be for. In other words, I came, I stood, I went, I did. This is of course something that should be reserved for God, because it is God really that has the ultimate right to say the words I am. But be that as it may, we have used the principle of I am to try to understand what Genesis 1:1 says. So we read into the text what is not there. We read into the text, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. When it says, in the beginning created Elohim, the heaven and the earth. It might appear to some people that it's a bit pedantic to labor this point, but it must be made clear that by swapping the words around, by swapping where God should be you put created there, and where created should be, you put God there. It creates a perfect way for human beings to understand something that is a bit more complex. So what is God saying? What is God saying? In the beginning created Elohim. It is the beginning itself that created Elohim, the heavens. And it is plural, the heavens, because there's more than one heaven, the heavens and the earth. And this thing is deliberately to show us the humility when it comes to understanding creation is the prime most important thing. We must be humble and say that we do not understand what transpired in creation. We do not understand. In other words, we cannot put our own understanding on what creation actually is. But we have a few tools to try to decipher what this text is saying. It wouldn't be much of a video if I don't try to clarify what I'm trying to say. Now, the word that I'm most interested in is the first 4 letters in that sentence. In the beginning created Elohim, the heavens and the earth. The first 4 letters is B-A-R-A, Bar'a. What is Bar'a? Bar'a, unfortunately in the English, when we think of words only in English words often just mean one thing. A table is a table is a table, a chair is a chair is a chair. But in Ivrit, in Hebrew, there are often 3 ways, at least, in which one can describe one single word. Fundamentally, the first thing is, there is an alphanumeric, or what we call gematria. There is the alphanumeric, there's a number system inherent in the language. That's the first thing. And secondly, there's a relational aspect to the language, every word. And then thirdly, there's a literal meaning of a word. So every single word in Ivrit, in Hebrew, must be understood within its 3 tripartite way. If you just have literal understanding of it, it is not enough. If you have just if you have the gematria of it, it's not enough. If you have just the relational aspect of the word, it is not enough. You need all 3. Unfortunately, with B-A-R-A, Bar'a, we have a perfect example. What is Bar'a? Bar'a means to create. It's first thing. Secondly, it also means S-O-N, son. So just let that sink in for a bit. The first word that ever came out of the Father's mouth, out of the mouth of Eloi, which is a term that's used for the Godhead, the Fatherhead. The first word that came out of him was Bar'a, was son. The first word. Right? And therefore, when we read the text and it says, the things that are visible and invisible were created in the image of Jesus Christ, both things visible and invisible, both things on earth and things in the heavens. Everything was made in the image of Jesus Christ. Now we begin to understand a bit more that the creation that the Father is speaking about here in Bereshit 1:1 is not a creation that is abstract. It is a creation, as it says also in the text, of begotten. Now I say begotten, and in English the word begotten is an abstract term. What does it mean, begotten? Right? In Hebrew, in Ivrit, begotten actually means yalad. What is yalad? Yalad means to come out of. like Eve came out of Adam. Yeshua, the Messiah, the Son of the Most High God, came out of the Father. He came out first as the Word. So human beings can't imagine, again, it is not possible for you and I to imagine that words create. We can't imagine such a thing. But precisely the Father, by saying a word, He's creating from out of Himself life. And it is very interesting when we do the gematria of Jesus, we find out that the number 8 seems to be an intricately linked name to Jesus. And how many words are there in Genesis 1:1? There are exactly 8 words. In the beginning created Elohim the heavens and the earth. 8 words. So encoded in Genesis 1:1 is the Son of the living God. Again, just let that sink into you. Therefore, both Christians, non-Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, New Age devils, witchcraft people, everybody, angels, whoever they may be, the depth and the height of what the Messiah and what Jesus is beyond our imagination. It is who Jesus really is, who Yeshua the Messiah really is beyond our imagination. We cannot even imagine the depth and the height of who Christ means the Messiah, who Christ actually is and was. So when He said in His word that before Abraham was, I am, He was speaking about Genesis 1:1. He was speaking about this first sentence ever uttered from God in the Bible. Now, brothers and sisters, I deliberately brought that up, the first verse in this Bible, to show just how limited human beings are in our attempt to understand the vast scope and the depth and the height, etc., of what it means for Elohim to create. Creation itself, if we're to take the entire sentence and try to bring that sentence into our consciousness, it is not possible for us to do it. It is not possible for any human being that wants to stay sane to understand creation. And I believe that it is deliberately put there for one specific purpose, to give us humility. The whole world is obsessed about what happened with the first, the Big Bang, before the Big Bang happened, after the Big Bang, whether the 6 days creation, whether it's literal, whether it's not literal. The whole world is running itself absolute, and the scientific world also, running themselves absolutely apoplectically mad, trying to understand creation and what creation means. So saying that, this wouldn't be much of a video if I did not make it clear or try to bring some clarity to this sentence in the Bible, this first verse in the Bible, on which all of the faiths stand on, both Judaism, Islam, and my faith, Christianity. So what we have is that we have tools in the language of Hebrew, if we go back to it, encoded in the language itself, certain clues pointing undoubtedly, unless if one wants to be unreasonable, certain clues as to what the text is actually saying. Now, let us break down the first word, Bereshit. Okay. Now, Hebrew, unlike the English language, is a language that has 3 ways to explain every single word. There's an alphanumeric, what we call gematriot or gematria. There's a number system attached to the language itself. Secondly, there's a relational aspect to Hebrew. And thirdly, there's a literal meaning to Hebrew also. Therefore, in order to really understand, you need to come to terms with the 3 ways in which the word could be used. So, if we go down to Barashit, what is interesting in the language is that Bar'a not only means create or to create or created, it's an ongoing process, creation. Bar'a also means S-O-N, it means son. Therefore, what I find fascinating is that the first word, B-A-R-A, the first word in Genesis is the Son of God. I find that absolutely amazing, because our language, sadly, is filled with all sorts of abstract notions. Therefore, we don't have a sense of what it means that when somebody says that your words create. Human beings don't really have a sense of that. But for the Creator, for Elohim, his words itself, I can't say itself because that's an inanimate term. The words of the Almighty create, right? So by him saying Bar'a, like it says in the text, Yeshua said, I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Therefore, when the Father said the first word Bar'a, he already made manifest his Son. Now I say made manifest because the King James Version of the Bible, which is the best, I believe, version that we have, doesn't use the word manifest. Instead it uses the word begotten. Now what does begotten mean? That's a bit of an abstract term for us. Begotten actually in Ivrit, in Hebrew, means Yalad. What is Yalad? Yalad means to proceed from, to come out of, right? So begotten, when we say Jesus is the only begotten Son of God, it means that Jesus is the Yalad Son of God. It means that Yeshua came out of the Father, right? This is a very crucial thing for us to see. Just like Eve, we believe, was taken out from Adam. We believe this dogmatically, not that we can prove it. Like I said, it is not in our business to prove anything, or not my business anyway, to prove anything, but to simply show, even in the first sentence written in the Bible, that we are incapable of understanding a great deal. But I digress. To return back to this issue of what it means to have a begotten Son of God, it means to Yalad, that Yeshua came out of the Father, and that he's the beginning of God's creation, and that he's in the Father and the Father is in him. So Bar'a means to create, it also means son. Therefore, we understand that the Father did not create out of thin air abstract things. He made everything in the image of his Son that came out of him, both things visible and things that are invisible. This is crucial. So the second half of that word, Ba'ashit, I've explained what Bar'a means. Bashit means to put. Bashit actually means to put. So another word of understanding what Ba'ashit means is the Son that was put to you. the Son that was placed on you. or the Son that was placed. So Bereshit bara Elohim, one way of reading it is the Son which was put is the creation of Elohim and the heavens and the earth. That's one way of reading it. But the crucial thing that I want to really make clear in this is that it is clear from this, and the things that I'm saying can be verified by people who understand the language. And if you want to understand a little bit more about what I'm saying here, if you want source material, I'll put some links at the bottom of this video so you can do your own research on this matter. That the Son itself, S-O-N, is encoded into Genesis 1:1, and that the process of creation itself, both things visible and invisible, things on earth, things in the heavens, the process of creation itself is the Son of God. That nothing is created or nothing was created outside of Him. This is crucial. This is crucial. That creation itself is the Son of God. Creation itself is the Son of God. That the Father made Him, or rather that He proceeded from the Father as the creation of God. Now, the problem that I often find when speaking to Muslims that don't believe in Jesus is that this creation, or this process of creation, they want to bring it into their consciousness in a way that they understand. But as I've said clearly, using the scripture, that it's not possible for any man to really understand completely what the whole sentence is saying. But to deny that Bara means son is a lie. To deny that He's the beginning of God's creation is a lie. That is clear. So we are not heretics when we say that Jesus is the Son of God. We're not heretics when we say that He proceeded from the Father, because we are using the text the Muslims also say they believe in. They say they believe in Genesis 1:1. Therefore, it is incumbent on you to submit also yourself to the reality of what the scripture is saying here. Therefore, if we look into the book of Romans 11:33, as it says, "Oh, the depths of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are His judgments, and His ways past finding out." The mystery of what Christ is, I believe that we are only scratching the surface of the entirety of what Christ actually is. And with that, I implore you, brothers and sisters, wherever you may be around the world, I implore you to open your heart to the possibility. I've used a text here that you say you believe in. You say you do not go against Genesis 1:1. It's also in the Quran, this verse, I believe. You say you believe in Genesis 1:1. Therefore, I implore you to open your heart to this, because I am not being heretical by stating this fact. It is incumbent on you to consider the possibility that this is correct. I would not be making this presentation of this video to put on YouTube so that I could be a superstar. I'm doing it so I can bring brothers and sisters in this video of the Muslim faith into Christianity and into the possibility that Jesus is the Son of God. If the possibility exists in your heart, only the possibility exists in your heart, I ask you to please send me an email, and for us to begin in a relationship This is not an invitation for trolls who want to engage in debate, but for people who are seriously, having watched this video, considering the possibility that Christ could be the Son of God. That God could have, the Elohim could have a son proceed out of him, and that son, as it says in Yeshayahu in Isaiah 53, that son in fact is Jesus Christ. Now, when we say that he's the Son of God, we are not saying, as I've clearly, I hope, demonstrated, we are not saying that that the Father had a son in a way that I may have a son with a woman. That is not how Elohim had a son. He had a son supernaturally because his word creates. That's the first thing that we must accept. The word of the Father creates. And for him to create, he created this word that was created is his son. He bound that in his son. He didn't bind it, he didn't make it in the image of a tree or the image of even of the heavens. He didn't make it in the image of some inanimate thing. He made it in the image of his own son, which is his own image. That he proceeded out of the Father, and the Father and he and the Father is one. So I implore you to please send me an email. If you do not want to send me an email, that's fine. I will implore you to, if this touches your heart, to take a moment to say that I've watched this video of this presentation on Genesis 1:1, and it touches me. And I would ask you to, in the comfort of your own house or flat or wherever you're watching this video, to simply kneel down by yourself, nobody else there present with you, to kneel down in your own words to say that I've watched this video and I want to know whether what this man is saying is true or not. I want to know whether Jesus really is the Son of God. I want to know. And I believe in my heart of hearts that if you open your heart to the possibility that what I've just said is true, if you open your heart to the possibility that Jesus is the Son of God, that he will come and dwell in your heart if you genuinely open your heart to the possibility that he is the Son of God. I say this because I believe in my heart of hearts that we really do not have much time in this world to vacillate and deliberate over many things that confuse us. I believe that our time in this world is devoted to searching for the true path. And if you say that you are really interested in finding out the true path, I'm asking you to turn your heart, you by yourself, to turn your heart to the possibility that God has a son, and to go on your knees and ask that if what this man is saying is true, Maker of heaven and earth, be manifest in my life, because I want to know. Okay? Thank you very much for listening to my video. I await your responses and correspondence from you, and God bless you. Thank you.